The girlfriend went into debt to pay for her mother's medical treatment. To pay off the debt, we work during the day at the company and take on part-time jobs at night and on weekends. That day, I dressed up as a male ghost and hid in the corner of the secret room, ready to scare the incoming guests as planned. Soon, a couple with disheveled clothes walked in. Kissing each other, the guy shyly called out his girlfriend's name, Alina. "Hurry up and show me that cute little lingerie I sent you today. I want to tear it off. I've already torn 7 of them today. Soon, you won't have any clothes left, and we still have to go to the hotel to celebrate your mom's birthday tonight." I initially thought it was just a coincidence, but Alina's mom is now lying in the hospital, and her condition isn't good. In the next moment, the woman saw me and threw her underwear and a stack of money right in my face. "Close your eyes and get out of here." My forehead started to heat up, but I remained frozen in place. It was all because that voice belonged to my girlfriend, whom I had loved for 3 years. "Liam, what are you still doing there in a daze? Don't disturb Alina and her boyfriend, just come out quickly." The manager's urgent voice came through the headphones, telling me to hurry out, and only then did I realize what was happening. I quickly picked up the props on the floor and hurried out of the dim room, with ambiguous voices following behind me. By the time I reached the front desk, I instinctively glanced at what I was holding and found that the plastic props and red paint were mixed with that pair of underwear and a stack of cash. This pile of money looked quite substantial, at least 20,000, and it was still new. No wonder I got hurt. If this money had fallen on my face while my girlfriend was with another man, I would be happier. Maybe I would even take a picture to show Alina, "Look, Auntie's medicine money for this month is finally here. You can relax now." But now, Alina, this unfamiliar name, could it really belong to the person who, to save money for her mother's treatment, would scrimp on every penny and once promised to make me happy while we shared instant noodles in a small rental room? If the person inside is her boyfriend, then what do I even count as? The things in my arms fell to the ground, making some noise. A few young ladies, clearly from wealthy families, were sitting in front of the reception desk. Upon hearing the sound, they all looked over, exchanged smiles, and some teased that Alina's white moonlight had returned. And she must have changed countless pairs of underwear these past few days. To cater to him, Alina is really willing to spend money. These underwear must cost over 100,000 each. It seems she isn't worried that the young boy next to her might get angry. What is there to be afraid of? Alina has plenty of money, and besides, what can that young man do if he finds out? 3 years ago, Ethan abandoned Alina to go abroad. Back then, Alina just wanted to vent, so she played around with him. Now that Ethan is back, he has nothing to do with her anymore. It's not easy for Alina to pretend to be poor for 3 years. She has always been a romantic, determined to marry Ethan. She once vowed to only spend money on Ethan, and other men were off limits. As for that guy named Liam, he actually believed her lies and foolishly worked everywhere to help her pay off her debts, which is really laughable. They excitedly stared at the computer screen, and following their gaze, I held my breath for a moment, under the night vision camera. The woman is tightly pressed against the man, entwined together as if wanting to fully merge into each other to express their longing. Although the light is dim and only a profile is visible, I still recognized her at a glance. In these 3 years, I have never seen Alina so passionate and crazy. She seemed to sense something, suddenly turned towards the camera, immediately draped a coat over Ethan, and then grabbed a nearby skull and threw it over. "Don't come over. Ethan is not someone you can look at. If you keep watching me, I'll make you regret it." The screen suddenly displayed a snowy image, and someone shyly touched their nose, in such a dark environment, with her covering Ethan so tightly. What else can we see? I can't believe Alina is so anxious. A few days ago, I joked with her about giving the girls a chance to see Liam's physique, and she happily nodded. It seems Ethan is her true favorite. The treatment is really different. I clenched my fists tightly but ultimately released them weakly. It turns out that when people face an unacceptable reality, their first reaction is not anger, but disbelief. Even though the manager has reminded me 3 times that I can remove my makeup and leave, I stubbornly stand there. I can't believe that the person they said hurt others' feelings is actually the woman I've loved for 3 years. Until one day, I saw her coming out of the escape room with Ethan. The sunlight illuminated Alina's face so clearly and beautifully, making me completely realize my long-standing self-deception. Ethan had kiss marks all over his neck. And when he saw the wound on my forehead, he awkwardly said, "Hey, my girlfriend has a bit of a bad temper. She accidentally hurt you earlier, so don't take it to heart. She just cares too much about me." Then he said to Alina, "Aren't you going to compensate him?" Alina's gaze met mine, and I felt like she recognized me. I hoped she could talk to me. Even if she didn't acknowledge the title of girlfriend, at least let me know I'm not a joke. But she just took out a check, wrote a few random numbers, tossed it at my feet and coldly said, "Stop saying those nonsensical things. If I find out you spoke ill of him and it affects Ethan's reputation, I will not let you off." After 3 years together, I could easily recognize her figure even in the dark. Now I'm right in front of her, wearing NPC makeup. Yet she only cares about reminding me not to tarnish her boyfriend's reputation. Did she really not recognize me, or does she simply not care about me? Alina held Ethan's arm as they walked to the Bentley at the door. She kindly opened the door for him, fastened his seat belt, and then drove away, from start to finish. She didn't glance at me even once. Seeing that limited edition Rolls-Royce starting with an A made me feel a wave of sadness. Because we have debts to pay and need to save money for her mother's medical treatment. We can't afford a car, only a second-hand electric scooter. Many times when those luxury cars passed by, Alina would point at them and say to me, "Liam, just wait. One day I'll make sure you ride in one of those cars, with the front passenger seat just for you." At that time, I thought that as long as she said that, even if I spent my whole life riding an electric scooter, I would be the happiest person. But now, she really has a luxury car, and the front passenger seat is not occupied by me. After removing my makeup and returning home, I took out a photo of Alina's mother from my phone while staring at that check. The amount on it is enough to pay for a year's worth of medical expenses in one go. "Alina, do you have any secrets that I don't know about?" A sound came from the door and I quickly hid the check. "Liam, my part-time salary has arrived. And I bought your favorite strawberries. Come and try some." When Alina saw the wound on my forehead, her smile vanished instantly. She rushed over and asked with concern, "What happened? Does it hurt?" I pulled at the corner of my mouth and casually said, "I accidentally bumped into something. It's nothing. Strawberries are so expensive. There's no need to waste money." "How can this be considered a waste, Liam? If I could, I really wish I could give you all the good things in the world. It's already quite difficult for you to be with me. I work hard just to ensure my darling can live a good life." I didn't say anything. Listening to these words is always so touching. At that moment, the scent of Ethan's perfume on her felt somewhat strange. Alina didn't notice my reaction, casually glanced at my phone, and smiled. "Other boys like to look at pretty girls. Why are you specifically focused on an old sick lady, an old and ugly one?" I was a bit shocked. "You don't know her." Alina looked puzzled and said, "I don't know her. Is she a relative of yours? How about we go buy some gifts then? By the way, Liam, I have work tonight, so I have to leave." I can't have dinner with you, just wait for me at home. She ruffled my hair, got dressed, and left. Hearing her words, I stood there stunned, unable to react. She took me to the hospital back then, pointed at the unconscious old lady in the photo, and sadly told me that was her mother. But now, she says she doesn't know her. I quietly took a taxi and followed Alina, seeing her enter a high-end mall, change into a dress worth tens of thousands, and then followed her to a hotel. As soon as I walked into the lobby, I saw Ethan in a suit, charmingly interacting with a distinguished lady. The lady resembled Alina a bit. Alina walked up to her, handed her a gift, and called out, "Mommy, happy birthday." A sudden absurd feeling washed over me, and I was at a loss whether to be angry or sad. At first, Alina felt very exhausted due to the high medical bills and debts, and on top of that, she was worried about her seriously ill mother, which always showed in her sad eyes. I felt heartbroken for her suffering and decided to share the burden with her. For 3 whole years, aside from eating and sleeping, I worked tirelessly to make money. Whenever my salary came in, I would immediately transfer it to her. Because I had no money for food, I often had to drink water to fill my stomach, and several times I fainted at work. Yet I didn't even have the courage to go to the hospital. Now I realized that the sick mother she mentioned was all a lie she made up. Her sadness and exhaustion were simply because Ethan had gone abroad. So what was the meaning of the hunger and hardship I experienced? It's really quite funny. Halfway through the banquet, Alina's mother suddenly stood up to thank everyone for attending her birthday party and then announced some good news. She said that Alina and Ethan had always gotten along well since childhood, and now that Ethan was back in the country, she would host an engagement party for them in 3 days. Hoping everyone could come to celebrate, guests offered their blessings, but someone curiously asked, "I heard Alina already has a boyfriend, what about that?" Alina's mother frowned and coldly said, "How could those of ordinary background want to associate with our Smith family? My daughter Alina is just playing with him. Does he really think he can turn his life around? He should consider his own situation. Alina, what do you think?" Alina paused for a moment, smiled slightly, and said, "Mom is right. This is indeed just a wild duck, so let's do as you say." I looked up in surprise and saw Ethan happily embracing her. Then Alina took out the pigeon egg diamond ring she had prepared in advance and put it on his ring finger. While everyone cheered, she affectionately kissed his finger. I saw that ring on TV a few days ago, and it was worth 200 million. I looked at this ordinary ring on my hand, which had already turned yellow and black. This was the ring Alina gave me on our 1-year anniversary. Although it only cost a few hundred, I was as happy as a fool at that time. Even though it's not even pure silver and has faded a lot, I still can't bear to take it off. I hid in the corner, like a secret observer, watching them hold hands tightly, smiling and drinking the wine offered by the guests. Although it was wine meant for 2, Alina blocked it all, handing Ethan a glass of juice, gently saying, "You're allergic to alcohol. Drink this." Ethan looked like a pampered child with a shy yet happy smile on his face, wrapping his arms around her shoulder and saying, "Alina, you're so nice." Alina has a weak stomach. In the past, during drinking gatherings, she always had me help her avoid alcohol. I would rather drink to the point of gastric bleeding than let her touch a drop of alcohol. And as a result, I took care of her like this for 3 years. But now, for another man, she doesn't even care about her own body. Today, Alina looked very happy. I had never seen her drink so much. Before long, she was drunk, and Ethan helped her to the guest room upstairs. I knew it would be better to leave at that moment. But by the time I realized it, I was already standing outside their door. The door wasn't closed tightly, and some shy sounds came from inside. I trembled as I called Alina. And it took over 10 seconds for her to answer. Her voice sounded hoarse and her breathing was heavy. She asked me, Liam, what happened? I said, Alina, let's get married. I don't need a dowry. I will work hard to support you. Come back quickly. Let's go get our marriage certificate right away. Okay, I said while crying. I knew how helpless and undignified I felt at that moment. But sometimes love means letting go of one's pride. As long as you stop now, as long as you come out, as long as you come back to me immediately, I am willing to pretend that nothing happened. Alina was silent for a moment, then smiled helplessly and said, Silly, why are you crying? I never said I wouldn't marry you, but my mom is still in the hospital and I can't think about getting married right now. I also don't want you to suffer alone. Once my mom feels a little better and I earn some more money, we'll buy a house and a car, and then we can have a proper wedding. Okay, be good. Wait for me a moment. Today, my part-time job might keep me busy until very late, so I won't be coming home. Take care to lock the doors at home. I'll bring you some good food when I come back. She suddenly let out a suppressed sound and quickly hung up the phone. Meanwhile, the voices in the room became increasingly intense, making it very uncomfortable to listen to. I helplessly put down my phone, tears streaming down my cheeks. On the way home, it started to rain heavily, the rain washing over my face as my tears continued to flow. Suddenly, I felt extremely tired, my head growing heavier. Before losing consciousness on the ground, I thought to myself, Alina, I don't want to wait for you any longer. When I opened my eyes again, it was already the evening of the third day. I was lying in a hospital bed, and the nurse told me that a kind passerby had brought me in. I opened my phone and found that Alina hadn't sent me any messages. In the past, no matter how busy she was, she would always text me good night and remind me to eat breakfast. The nurses gathered together, whispering quietly, and I heard that they were all quite envious. The only daughter of the Smith group is getting engaged, and her fiancé is the young master of the Johnson family. Alina has liked Ethan since childhood, and last night she bought up all the fireworks in the city to propose to him. And there will also be a drone team performance. I heard there are thousands of drones involved. I've heard that this program was personally designed by Alina for Ethan, which is really enviable. I was stunned there when my phone rang. It was a call from another part-time manager. They said a client is hosting a bachelor party tonight and needs a doll performance with good pay. Don't you urgently need the money? I specifically recommended you, so don't let me down. I initially wanted to refuse, but this manager has been really nice to me and always thinks of me first. I didn't want to put him in a difficult position, so I agreed. Besides, I don't plan to use Alina's check because I've given all my savings to her. I still have to work hard to get by. I'm using the wages from that night's part-time job to cover the expenses. It's the first time in 3 years I've spent money on myself. Anyway, Alina no longer needs me. I gave a wry smile. There wasn't really anything to worry about. The beggar life of Princess Alina is pretty much over. She should be back with the one she loves. They are truly the perfect match. In the private room, besides Ethan, there were other wealthy young ladies and gentlemen, all looking at me with disdain. Ethan tossed a clown costume at my feet and coldly said, I heard your manager say Liam knows how to please customers, so wear this and entertain my friends. It was a clown outfit, but it was oddly styled, with very little fabric, leaving almost my entire body exposed. I politely said, Ethan, this doesn't meet our work requirements. I have a Doraemon costume ready to perform magic for you and your friends. Unexpectedly, the next moment, a loud slap struck my face, causing me unbearable pain. Ethan was no longer as generous and considerate as he had been that day. He laughed mockingly and said, in your line of work, customers have their rules. If you don't change, then I can only think your manager is lying to me, and his shop won't survive either. For these wealthy people, bringing down a small shop is really too easy. I don't want to get the manager in trouble. Grinding my teeth, I picked up the clown suit and put it on. Sorry, I can't fulfill that request. If I still couldn't tell that Ethan was deliberately making things difficult for me, then I would really be foolish. Sorry, I can't help you. I won't even take the payment. Ethan, you should find someone else. I turned to leave but was stopped by two men. One of them kicked my knee hard, causing me to kneel on the ground in pain. Ethan walked up to me, slapped me several times and mocked, "That's more like it. People like you, poor folks, deserve to kneel before me." Then he grabbed my hair, forced me to look at him, and asked, "Lena told you her mother is seriously ill and owes a lot of money, right?" That was just a lie. I didn't expect you to be so eager to put your face against a cold butt. You're just someone she picked randomly to make me jealous. And you even dared to call her, hoping to marry her. What qualifications do you even have? The hundreds of thousands you gave her over the past 3 years were just to please me. As long as I replied to her, she would send me 100,000 as a red envelope. But sadly, it's too little. It disappears after just a few words. Elena has to pay for herself. You're really useless. How can you be such a sycophant? Is this how you try to seduce Elena to be with you? Then today, I'll let you seduce her properly and let my male friend satisfy you. Hurry up and strip him. Those people were tugging at my clothes, and I was desperately trying to break free. Ethan thought it was too noisy and casually grabbed a bottle to smash it against my head. Blood flowed down, my vision blurred, and my brain started to spin. Just as the fabric tore, the door was kicked open and someone asked, "What are you doing?" Elena pushed those people away and tried to help me up, but I pushed her away instead. I looked at her fancy dress and gave a wry smile. "Elena, do you really think this is funny?" "I didn't do that. At this time, shouldn't you be working at KFC? What kind of KFC would have waitstaff wearing such expensive dresses? Her monthly salary probably couldn't even buy a single thread from this dress." Elena was momentarily speechless, and Ethan sarcastically said, "Looks like you're quite the expert, knowing Elena is rich and trying to figure out how to take advantage of her. I just feel that how could anyone be so foolish as to willingly be someone else's loyal little bee? They must have known Elena's identity long ago, so they shamelessly stayed by her side, hoping to rise through her. It's truly disgraceful." My anger and despair intertwined. I just fell in love with someone and wanted to lighten her burdens in life. I have never belittled anyone's feelings. Why should I endure such humiliation? I couldn't hold back any longer and slapped Ethan. Elena immediately tensed up, quickly pushing me away to protect the crying Ethan. "Have you gone mad, Liam? How can you hit someone so casually?" I was both angry and amused, pointing to my forehead and saying, "That guy hit me with a bottle and I just returned the slap. Are you really that worried, Elena? Have you had enough of this princess turning into a beggar game? Let's break up." I turned to leave and Elena instinctively chased after me, grabbing my wrist. "Liam, don't go." Ethan immediately said in grievance. "Elena, you already have my child. Mom is still at home waiting for us to celebrate." Elena's eyes slightly trembled. After hesitating for a moment, she ultimately let go of my hand. "Liam, don't mess with me right now. Just go back and wait for me. I'll explain it to you tomorrow." After saying that, she took Ethan and left. I looked at her back, smiled helplessly, and thought, Tomorrow is your engagement banquet, but I heard you're pregnant with someone else's child, so the engagement might not be necessary. Just go get the marriage certificate. The manager sent me a message. "Liam, the client is very satisfied with your performance. This is your reward. The amount transferred is quite substantial." Ethan is really generous. Alina kept messaging me, Liam, things aren't as simple as you think. Once I finish these tasks, I'll definitely explain everything to you in detail. Can you wait for me a bit longer? I've already waited for 3 years. I really don't want to wait any longer. The clock struck midnight. Today marks the 4th anniversary of our relationship. But she's getting married to someone else. I sent her one last text, Alina, congratulations on your engagement. Not long after, Alina called me. The phone rang several times until I heard a voice ask, "Why do you get hurt every time I see you?" I turned my head and found Sophia had appeared next to me at some point. She looked at my forehead, seemed to sigh helplessly, let me into her car, and then took me to a nearby pharmacy to buy iodine and Band-Aids. While Sophia was treating my wound, Alina called again. "Are you not going to answer?" I shook my head, smiled bitterly. What's the point of answering the call anyway? Am I supposed to let her deceive me again? I'm already very tired. Tonight she might still be busy taking care of Ethan and their children. Sophia said nothing more, quietly helping me with my wound. The first time I met Sophia was that day in the secret room. She is also a friend of Alina's. Everyone else was gathered around the monitor watching the spectacle, but she quietly sat on the sofa, not laughing at me with them. After Alina and the others left, she didn't follow them but walked in front of me, looking disgustedly at Ethan's underwear on the floor and the pile of money, as if she didn't want to be associated with these filthy things. I asked Sophia if she recognized me as Liam back then. Sophia smiled slightly and mentioned that she had seen me a few times when she was taking Alina home from a distance. You see, she could recognize me after seeing me a few times, but after being with Alina for 3 years, she couldn't recognize me. I exchanged some money with Sophia using that check, only taking the part I had given to Alina over the past 3 years, and asked her to help me return the rest to Alina. She kept it from me for 3 years. But I eventually got my money back, so that's fair. I bought myself a last-minute flight, and Sophia accompanied me to the airport. As I was about to leave, she asked me if I really wasn't taking anything with me. I looked around the rental apartment where I had lived for 3 years. Everything held memories of Alina and me. Forget it. It's better not to dwell on it. Alina's calls and messages flooded in like a tide, but I didn't look at them. Instead, I blocked all her contact information and headed straight to the airport. At the Smith family's old house, Alina listened to the private doctor's report, appearing somewhat impatient. The doctor said Ethan was fine and she wasn't pregnant. Her missed period this month was just due to a minor endocrine issue. After the doctor left, Alina sent me another message, only to find I had blocked her. Calling just resulted in a busy signal. Alina's expression changed suddenly as she thought about the last message I sent her, confused about how I knew. In the end, she couldn't hold back any longer and turned to leave. But just as she reached the door, Sophia stopped her. "You don't need to look for Liam anymore. He's left the city and won't be seeing you again." Alina frowned and asked, "What do you mean by that? My boyfriend left. Do you think I wouldn't know?" "On what basis do you say he doesn't want to see me?" Sophia shrugged, knowing full well, because I was the one who took him to the airport, while you were busy with your ideal partner. He had already left. "Alina, you're not really suited for Liam," Alina said angrily. "What are you talking about? Liam is my boyfriend. On what basis do you think you can just let him go?" At that moment, Sophia coldly smiled and threw a suitcase at her feet. The suitcase wasn't closed properly, and money spilled all over the ground. "Your man. Liam is yours, and so is Ethan. Alina, you really are too greedy. On what basis do you think Liam won't leave you? He is an independent person and doesn't belong to anyone. He has his own feelings and can also feel hurt. That day when you threw Ethan's underwear and that dirty money along with the check in his face. He was no longer your boyfriend. Liam asked me to tell you that you disappointed him for 3 years. He just wants to get his money back. And from now on, there will be no connection between you two, nor any need to meet again. Alina's eyes widened in shock, realizing that the NPC in the secret room that day was actually me. She didn't even recognize me. So, I saw everything she did with Ethan. She suddenly remembered that I had indeed told her before that I recently found a part-time job in a secret room. Just didn't tell her the specific location. Some strange things that happened recently became clearer. It turned out that the injury on my forehead that day when she returned home was caused by her hitting me with cash. And that photo of the old lady in the hospital bed, Alina thought it looked familiar at the time but just couldn't remember who it was. Now she finally remembered and really wanted to slap herself. Sophia looked at her coldly and sarcastically said, "Did you finally remember? Back then, to get back at Ethan, she made that ridiculous promise, causing a boy to sacrifice 3 years of his youth. For your so-called debt repayment to save your mother. How much suffering has Liam endured in these 3 years? Look at how much weight he has lost, in the end. You are so careless even when lying, easily forgetting who that old lady is. But have you thought about Liam's feelings? All his efforts and dedication over the years? Was it just to make your relationship with Ethan smoother? Now you want to happily get engaged to your ideal partner, leaving him behind. Someone like you truly doesn't deserve a good man like Liam." "Stop! I never thought about abandoning Liam." Alina interrupted her angrily, suddenly realizing something. They've been sisters for a long time. She could definitely sense Sophia's favoritism towards her, as well as the hidden emotions in her words. She suddenly grabbed Sophia by the collar and asked, "Sophia, I consider you a sister. Why do you want my boyfriend? Do you like Liam? So what if I do? If you treat him well, I can suppress my feelings for him. But if you treat him like this, I will definitely stand by his side and never let you bully him again." Alina couldn't help but punch her hard, angrily saying, "Liam is mine. He won't leave me. You'll never have a chance to compete with me in your lifetime. I'm going to bring him back." Alina was just about to leave when Ethan rushed over and grabbed her. Ethan asked Alina, "Where are you going? Our engagement party is about to start. Are you still planning to find that guy?" Unexpectedly, Alina immediately slapped him and said, "Shut up. Who told you to call him that? I know why you wanted Liam to show up at the party that day and what you planned to do to him. Ethan, when you chose to go abroad, our relationship ended. You know clearly why we got together and why we got engaged, but I hope you won't test my limits. I'm going to find Liam now, and anyway, I'm not pregnant, so let's postpone the engagement party." Alina's mother beside her turned cold and said in a deep voice, "Alina, have you forgotten how you promised me? If you walk out that door today, you will no longer be a daughter of the Smith family. After all, we still have many excellent children in our family who can take over the group. Have you really decided to postpone the engagement party? As long as you fulfill your commitments, I won't interfere with what you want to do." Alina stopped. Her fists clenched. Although she didn't say anything, her pause indicated her choice. Alina's mother smiled with satisfaction, and Ethan happily ran into her embrace. Only Sophia shot a cold glance at Alina. Then she took out her checkbook, casually wrote some numbers like she did with me before, and tossed the check at Alina's feet. "Alina, congratulations. However, I don't plan to attend the engagement party. This is your share of the money, keep it. But Alina, you need to remember. You have given up your last chance. I hope you won't regret it in the future." Alina watched her retreating figure, her fingers turning white from the pressure. And she shouted in her mind, "No, this is not the last chance. Liam wouldn't be willing to leave me. Just wait a little longer. once Ethan and I are married and I have the Smith family's heir. Once I take over Smith Group, I will bring Liam back. By then, no one will be able to separate us. I had just arrived in a small coastal town in the south when I saw the news on my phone that Johnson and the Smith family were to be married. Alina seemed very eager to marry Ethan, and the original engagement party was changed into a wedding, although the preparation time was a bit tight. As long as there is money, many things can be resolved, and the venue was decorated very lavishly. The comments section is filled with blessings. The groom is really handsome. And the bride is beautiful too. They truly are a match made in heaven. Congratulations to Alina for achieving her wish and finding her ideal partner. However, I feel like the bride's smile seems a bit forced. It feels like someone is threatening her from behind. I've imagined many times what it would be like to marry Alina. It doesn't need to be extravagant, and there shouldn't be too many guests. It's best to be by the sea because I've never seen the ocean. My beloved girl holding flowers. Slowly walking towards me, and together we walk towards a happy future. But now, as I see the ocean I like, she is already married and the person beside her is not me. There's no need to work as hard to earn money like before. Suddenly having hundreds of thousands, I plan to start a small business myself. I've looked at many storefronts and found that the rent is quite expensive. With the renovations and other costs, it's really a bit overwhelming. Just when I was at a loss, an agent suddenly contacted me, telling me there's a small coffee shop by the sea. A place where you can read books, and the owner wants to transfer it for a surprisingly low price. A place that combines coffee and reading is such a great idea. This is exactly the kind of shop I want to open. I excitedly rushed over to take a look and found that the decoration style was exactly what I liked. It didn't need any renovations at all. Moreover, it has 2 floors, and the second floor has several rooms, which could easily be used as a guest house. Most importantly, the price is really very cheap. So cheap that it's a bit hard to believe. On the day we signed the contract, the shop owner finally appeared. I was a bit surprised and asked her, "Sophia, is this shop yours?" Sophia smiled and nodded, saying yes, she has been running it for quite a while. You know, my family business is quite large and I don't have time to manage this small shop. So I wanted to transfer it to someone familiar at a low price. It just so happens that you came along, so consider it a favor for me. After all, I have put a lot of effort into this shop. And I'm not very comfortable handing it over to a stranger. I'm on vacation for a while and want to relax by the seaside. Can you give me one of the guest rooms on the second floor? I noticed those new tables and chairs. They looked like they had just been renovated not long ago. But the daughter of a rich person always has some strange ideas. I nodded and, without thinking much, signed the contract with her. Not long after, the news of the president of Smith Group being pregnant topped the trending searches. In the footage, Alina came out of the hospital with a blank expression, while Ethan showed a happy smile. Seeing news like this, I surprisingly feel no emotional response at all. Sophia said she would only stay for a few days, but unexpectedly, she's been here for over half a year. Often, while I'm busy at the front desk, she's in the corner reading. When it's time to eat, she takes the initiative to cook and says it's to help me pay the rent. I feel a bit embarrassed. After all, this is her shop, and she transferred it to me at such a low price. But her cooking skills are really good. Speaking of which, I actually haven't eaten the meals Alina cooks. I'm usually the one taking care of her. Every time I ask her if she should go back to work, she always smiles and replies that her sister is watching the family business, and she can work remotely on her computer. Plus, she's afraid to go back. My sister told me that being this age and still single is quite embarrassing. If I don't help her find a boyfriend, she threatens to kick me out. So now I'm trying hard to find someone. I can sense what she means and my face feels a bit hot. Since then, our relationship seems to have become closer. A few months have passed, and today two young guys came into the shop, gathered together chatting about gossip. They mentioned that the president of Smith Group had a baby boy and he's very cute. However, they felt sorry for her husband. Childbirth should be a joyful event. So why did he suddenly go insane and end up in a mental hospital? At this point, another boy mentioned Eleanor's mother, who suddenly had a stroke yesterday, leaving her with a crooked mouth and drooping eyes, making it hard for her to speak, and she lost her mobility. She might have to live in a nursing home from now on. I accidentally spilled hot water on my hand, and the pain made me cry out. Sophia immediately came over to help me rinse it with cold water, her face full of concern, as if she were the one who got hurt. I joked that it was fine, I wasn't that fragile. Sophia gently kissed my fingertips and stubbornly said, "No, you have to act cute. Otherwise, what am I supposed to do?" I smiled shyly and didn't push her away. Some things we both understood. Just then, a familiar voice angrily asked, "What are you guys doing?" After not seeing her for over a year, Eleanor seemed more mature. Her youthful innocence was gone. Her eyes had a dramatic flare. But there was a gloomy aura about her that felt somewhat oppressive. Those two little boys covered their mouths, their eyes shining with excitement, thinking, "Isn't that the president of the Smith Group? She's as beautiful as in the photos." Eleanor shot them a cold glance and said, "Get out quickly." He exuded a chilling aura, which scared the little boys so much that their eyes turned red, and they timidly ran away. I frowned at her and said, "Eleanor, you scared my guests." Eleanor stared at the hands that Sophia and I were holding, squeezing out a few words through clenched teeth. "Sophia, I give you 3 seconds to let go, or I won't be polite." But Sophia tightened her grip and smiled provocatively. "This is my boyfriend's hand. Why should I let go? What do you want to do to me? Do you want me to lose my mind and be sent to a mental hospital? Or do you want me to go to a sanatorium?" "Eleanor, you really have no sense of reason." I widened my eyes in surprise, not expecting that she was behind those things. "But doesn't she like Ethan very much? Why would she do this?" Eleanor seemed very angry at the words boyfriend, rushing over to punch Sophia hard. Sophia hurriedly shielded me behind her. Blood was dripping from the corner of her mouth. Eleanor wanted to continue attacking, so I quickly stood in front of Sophia to protect her. "Eleanor, what's wrong with you?" Eleanor's fist stopped as she looked at me incredulously. "Liam, you actually stand by her side." "Eleanor, don't joke around. Of course, I wouldn't support my own girlfriend. Should I support you instead?" Eleanor's face was pale as she tightly grasped my wrist and said, "No, this can't be happening. I'm your girlfriend, you love me the most, right?" "Liam, I know you're angry with me. I admit that at first I couldn't forget Ethan and had a commitment to him, which is why I lied to you. I truly made a mistake and I apologize. But we've been together for 3 years, and I have genuinely fallen in love with you. However, my mother doesn't agree to you coming into our home. She threatens me with the position of heir, forcing me to marry Ethan and bear the Smith family's heir. Only then will she agree to let me be with you. I have no choice but to try to be with Ethan, hoping to get pregnant soon. If I lose my status as the Smith family's heir, I will have nothing and will never be able to give you a happy life. But now everything is over. I've got the Smith Group and had a child. I sent Ethan to a mental hospital and filed for divorce. Mom no longer threatens me. We can finally be together forever. All of this is for you, Liam." Hearing these words, my first reaction was to find it absurd and funny. I pulled my hand away and said softly, "But Eleanor, when I was with you, you had no money either. But you know what? At that time, I felt like the happiest person in the world. I never asked you for anything. I just wanted to be with the person I love, to treat each other sincerely, without betrayal or deception, even if it meant living in a rental for a lifetime. I would gladly accept it. However, you truly hurt me. You always say it's for me, but it's really for yourself. Your attitude allows you to play some role-playing games. But you can never accept becoming ordinary. I'm just an excuse for your own actions. Alina seemed to have hit a nerve. She shook her body slightly and said reluctantly, "But I really love you, Liam. Can you forgive me this time?" I smiled wearily and said, "Alina, you may not know, but I have actually forgiven you many times. Do you remember that day in the secret room? I thought that as long as you denied Ethan was your boyfriend, I would forgive you for that night at the hotel when I called outside your door. If you had just told me to come back right away, we could have started over, but you didn't do that in the end. You know how much I hate that version of myself. Now, I don't want to give up my self-respect and boundaries for anyone anymore. You can go back and take good care of Ethan and raise your child. You have already hurt one man's heart. Don't ruin another person's life." In the end, Alina decided to leave, leaving behind a property transfer contract on the table. I knew she wanted to give me some compensation. Sophia tore the contract to shreds and threw it in the trash, disdain written all over her face, indicating that she didn't need anyone to support her husband. I looked at her helplessly and didn't intervene. The sincerity once given cannot be replaced by any amount of money. Later, Sophia and I got married, had children, and then grandchildren, happily spending our old age together. Alina didn't bring Ethan back. She raised the boy alone and even bought the neighborhood we used to live in. After handing the company over to the boy, she moved into that small rental apartment. Alina closed the door, allowing no visitors, spending her days staring at a pile of old photos, and ultimately lived alone until old age.